The Psychology of Wealth, Powerful Secrets You Can't Afford to Ignore. There is a silent conversation happening inside you every time money enters your life. It speaks when you charge for your work, when you spend, when you dream bigger, and suddenly feel fear, guilt, or hesitation. Most people never hear this conversation, but it quietly controls their financial destiny. This book will help you listen, and then rewrite that inner voice. Because wealth is not built by numbers. It is built by the mind, the emotions, and the beliefs you carry every day. Chapter 1. The Inner Currency, Why Wealth Begins with Identity, Not Income. Pause for a moment, and listen closely. Before money ever touches your hands, it has already passed through your mind. Before wealth shows up in your life, it must first feel safe inside your nervous system. And before abundance becomes visible, it must become believable. Most people don't struggle with money because they lack effort. They struggle because their identity sets a ceiling they keep bumping into, again and again. You don't earn what you want. You earn what you believe you are. That belief lives quietly beneath your goals, beneath your affirmations, beneath your hard work. And until it changes, nothing else truly does. This chapter is not about tactics. It's about transformation. Because wealth doesn't start in your bank account, it starts in your inner currency. There is an unseen thermostat inside you. Just like a thermostat controls the temperature of a room, your self-image controls the level of success you allow yourself to experience. When things rise above what feels familiar, you unconsciously turn the heat back down. Not because you're weak, but because your mind is designed to protect what it knows. You can work harder. You can learn more skills. You can chase bigger goals. But if deep down you still see yourself as someone who just gets by, or someone who must struggle to deserve, or someone who feels uncomfortable being seen, paid, or celebrated, your identity will quietly pull you back. This is why some people earn more money and feel more anxiety. Why others sabotage right before a breakthrough. Why sudden success feels heavier than failure ever did. Money amplifies who you believe you are. Think of Oprah, not the fame, not the fortune, but the inner shift. She didn't just rise financially. She expanded her identity beyond trauma, beyond limitation, beyond survival. The wealth followed the expansion. Now think of an everyday example, a talented professional who underprices their work. Not because they lack value, but because charging more would challenge who they've been taught they are. This is not a money problem. It's an identity conflict. And identity always wins, unless you consciously evolve it. Your self-image is making financial decisions long before logic enters the room. It decides what risks you avoid, even when opportunity is knocking. What prices you feel guilty charging. What dreams you downsize to feel safe. What success feels too much for someone like you. Most self-sabotage doesn't look like destruction. It looks like hesitation, delay, overthinking, playing small with a convincing explanation. You say you're being realistic. But deep down, you're being familiar. Your brain is wired to protect identity more than happiness, more than wealth, more than growth. That's why someone can win the lottery and lose it all. And someone else can lose everything and rebuild stronger than before. Income is temporary. Identity is permanent, until you rewire it. This is where wealth truly begins, not in chasing money, but in expanding who you believe you are allowed to become. Let me be clear, money is not the enemy. But chasing money without upgrading identity creates pressure, fear, and burnout. When you chase money, you say, I'll be worthy when I earn more. I'll feel safe when I have more. I'll believe in myself when I succeed. That mindset puts wealth on a pedestal and puts you beneath it. And when money becomes the source of your worth, it will always feel unstable. True wealth grows from the opposite direction. You become grounded first. You become emotionally regulated first. You become internally safe first. Then money becomes a byproduct, not a burden. Think of Serena Williams. Her greatness wasn't built on chasing trophies. It was built on identity, discipline, belief, self-trust, long before the world applauded. The same principle applies to you. Wealth doesn't ask, how hard are you working? It asks, who are you becoming while you work? Here's the shift that changes everything. Stop asking, how do I make more money? Start asking, who must I become to sustain more? Because holding wealth requires emotional steadiness under pressure, confidence without arrogance, self-worth that isn't dependent on approval, calm decision-making when numbers grow. If you haven't trained these qualities, money feels dangerous. That's why many people unconsciously repel abundance. It threatens their emotional equilibrium. But this can change. Identity is not fixed. It is trained. Just like muscles. Just like habits. Just like focus. Every time you speak up when you would normally shrink. Charge your true value without apology. Make a decision aligned with growth, not fear. Stay grounded when discomfort rises. You are depositing into your inner currency. And that currency compounds. Slowly. Quietly. Powerfully. This is how wealth becomes sustainable, because it is no longer foreign to your nervous system. You don't need to become someone else. You need to become more of who you truly are, without fear, without guilt, without the old stories that kept you small. Money is not asking you to betray your values. It's asking you to expand your capacity. When identity leads, income follows. When self-worth stabilizes, wealth multiplies. And when you finally feel safe being seen, paid, and powerful, money no longer feels heavy. It feels natural. Tonight, stand in front of a mirror. Look yourself in the eyes and say this slowly. I am becoming someone who can hold abundance with calm, clarity, and purpose. Say it again, until your body believes it, not just your mind. This is not affirmation. This is identity training. And from this moment forward, you don't chase wealth. You become the ground it grows from. Rise into that truth. Your inner currency has already begun to change. Chapter 2. The Scarcity Imprint. How Childhood Conditioning Shapes Financial Destiny. Take a breath, and go back with me. Back before you understood numbers. Before you knew what wealth meant. Before money became something you chased, feared, or judged. You were watching. You were listening. You were absorbing lessons that were never spoken out loud. Money wasn't just currency in your childhood, it was emotion, tone, silence, stress, arguments behind closed doors, relief when bills were paid, fear when they weren't. And your nervous system learned something long before your mind could reason. It learned what money felt like. That feeling, not logic, became your financial destiny. This is what I call the scarcity imprint. And until you see it clearly, it will quietly run your life. Scarcity is not just an idea. It is a bodily memory. When a child grows up in uncertainty, the body adapts. It learns to stay alert, to brace, to conserve, to expect loss. If money brought tension, your nervous system linked wealth with danger. If success caused conflict, you learned that more meant unsafe. If survival required sacrifice, struggle became familiar, even comforting. So later in life, when opportunity appears, your body reacts first. Tight chest, racing thoughts, hesitation disguised as logic. Not because you're incapable, but because your system is protecting an old rule. Stability comes from staying small. This is why intelligent, talented people self-sabotage. Why promotions feel heavy. Why growth triggers guilt. Your mind may want abundance, but your nervous system remembers survival. And survival always resists change. Scarcity is often passed down like an heirloom, quietly, unconsciously, lovingly. Parents don't pass down money habits with words. They pass them down with emotion. A parent who worked endlessly but never felt safe. A caregiver who believed rich people were dishonest. A family story that said, people like us don't get ahead. Those beliefs didn't start with you, but they didn't stop with them either. Generations repeat patterns not because of lack of intelligence, but because familiarity feels safer than freedom. This is why one family struggles for decades, while another builds steadily. Not because one is smarter, but because one inherited a calmer relationship with abundance. Think of Nelson Mandela, not his wealth, but his inner freedom. He broke generational chains by refusing to inherit bitterness. That same courage applies to money. You are not betraying your family by wanting more peace. You are not dishonoring your past by choosing ease. You are evolving the story. For many people, success doesn't feel exciting, it feels heavy. There's guilt. Why me? Who am I to earn this? What if others struggle while I rise? This guilt is not generosity. It is loyalty to old pain. Your nervous system may believe that surpassing your family financially means separation. And separation once meant danger. So you slow down. You downplay wins. You shrink to belong. But here's the truth. Growth does not disconnect you from love. Healing does not erase your roots. A tree does not abandon its roots by growing taller. It honors them by thriving. Every scarcity imprint runs on a script. Some sound like, save everything, something bad is coming. Don't want too much, it leads to disappointment. Work harder, rest is risky. Money doesn't last. These scripts once kept you safe. Honor that. But understand this, what protected you then may imprison you now. The goal is not to reject your past. It is to update your system. To teach your body that growth is no longer a threat. That abundance can be calm. That stability can expand. That peace does not require struggle. This is not mental work alone. This is emotional retraining. You don't heal scarcity by fighting it. You heal it by thanking it, and moving forward anyway. Say this quietly inside yourself. Thank you for protecting me. I am safe now. When you make financial decisions from calm instead of fear, you rewrite the imprint. When you rest without guilt, you rewrite it. When you invest in yourself, you rewrite it. Small acts. Repeated. Consistent. This is how the nervous system learns a new truth. Not through force, but through safety. You were born into a story. But you were not born to be trapped by it. Your parents did the best they could with what they knew. Now, you get to do something powerful. You get to choose differently. Not from anger. Not from rebellion. But from awareness. And awareness changes everything. When you see the scarcity imprint, it loses control. When you soothe the nervous system, wealth stops feeling dangerous. When safety becomes internal, abundance becomes possible. This is how generational patterns end. Not with blame, but with courage. Place one hand on your chest. Breathe slowly. And say this with honesty. I honor where I come from, and I choose where I'm going. Say it again, until your body softens. This is not rejection. This is evolution. And from this moment on, you are no longer living in survival. You are rising into expansion. Let that truth settle. The imprint is not your destiny. It was only a starting point. And you are just getting started. Chapter 3. Emotional Wealth. Why Regulation Beats Motivation Every Time. Let me tell you something most people never hear, and yet it controls everything. Motivation is loud. Emotions are quiet. And the quiet ones run your life. You don't rise or fall based on how inspired you feel. You rise or fall based on how stable you remain when inspiration disappears. Because motivation comes and goes like weather. But emotional regulation, that's the ground you stand on. And wealth, real lasting wealth, is built on solid ground. If motivation were enough, most people would already be free. They've read the books, listened to the talks, felt the fire. But fire without control burns the house down. This chapter is about something deeper, something more powerful. It's about emotional wealth, the ability to stay centered, clear, and grounded while you build, grow, and expand. Because the people who win long-term are not the most excited. They are the most regulated. Motivation feels good. It feels like energy, like clarity, like momentum. But motivation is reactive. It depends on circumstances. Good news, you're motivated. A win, you're motivated. Praise, you're motivated. But what happens when things slow down? When doubt creeps in? When results lag? That's where most people collapse. They wait to feel ready again. They wait to feel confident again. They wait to feel inspired again. And while they wait, opportunities pass. Wealth doesn't wait for your mood. Think about an entrepreneur who starts strong. Late nights, big dreams, bold moves. Then pressure rises. Bills. Responsibility. Fear. Suddenly, emotional overwhelm. Decisions become impulsive. Spending spikes. Focus scatters. This isn't lack of intelligence. It's lack of regulation. Your emotions are the steering wheel. If they're shaking, the vehicle swerves. And over time, those emotional swings create a pattern. Highs followed by crashes. Momentum followed by burnout. That's not a money issue. That's emotional instability playing out financially. Unregulated emotions don't scream. They whisper. They show up as overreacting to setbacks, avoiding hard conversations, making decisions to escape discomfort instead of build stability. Fear pushes you to sell too soon. Excitement pushes you to overextend. Anxiety pushes you to hoard. Ego pushes you to prove. And each decision feels logical in the moment, but costly in the long run. This is why people can earn a lot and still feel unsafe. Why they chase bigger numbers, but feel smaller inside. Emotional wealth is not about suppressing feelings. It's about mastering your response. Think of Serena Williams. Not just strength, composure. Under pressure. Under expectation. Under scrutiny. Her greatness wasn't emotional absence. It was emotional command. That same principle applies to money. Your ability to stay calm when things shake. That's wealth. Here's the truth most people miss. Wealth is not built in moments of excitement. It's built in moments of neutrality. In the ordinary days. The quiet decisions. The consistent follow-through. Emotional stability allows you to delay gratification without resentment. Make clear decisions under stress. Stay patient when results lag. Remain disciplined without burning out. It keeps you steady when others panic. Focused when others scatter. Grounded when others overreact. This is why emotional regulation beats motivation, every time. Motivation lights the match. Regulation keeps the fire burning without destroying the structure. And your nervous system is at the center of it all. When your body feels unsafe, your mind seeks relief. When your body feels regulated, your mind seeks growth. Wealth grows where safety lives. Emotional resilience is not a personality trait. It's a skill. And like any skill, it's trained. Start by noticing your emotional patterns around money. When pressure rises, do you rush? When fear appears, do you freeze? When excitement hits, do you overcommit? Awareness is power. Then practice staying present, even when discomfort rises. Sit with uncertainty without reacting. Pause before making decisions. Breathe when urgency pushes. This is not weakness. This is mastery. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you strengthen emotional wealth. Over time, your nervous system learns something new. It learns that discomfort doesn't equal danger. That pressure doesn't require panic. That growth can be steady. And when that happens, your decisions change. Not dramatically, but consistently. And consistency is where wealth compounds. There will be days when you don't feel inspired. Days when doubt whispers. Days when progress feels slow. Those days are not signs to stop. They are invitations to regulate. To show up anyway. To move gently forward. To trust the process without emotional drama. This is where most people quit. And where leaders separate themselves. Because they are not driven by mood. They are anchored in discipline, guided by calm. They don't wait to feel like it. They do it because it aligns with who they are becoming. That's emotional wealth in action. You were never meant to be controlled by your emotions. Emotions are signals, not orders. When you learn to listen without obeying impulsively, you step into power. Power to build slowly. Power to sustain growth. Power to remain centered as your world expands. And that power creates a different relationship with money. Money stops feeling urgent. Decisions stop feeling heavy. Progress feels grounded. This is how wealth becomes peaceful, not stressful. The next time emotion rises, pause, breathe, and say this silently. I don't need to react to move forward. Let calm lead. Let clarity decide. Because from this moment on, you are not building wealth with excitement. You are building it with emotional strength. And that strength, that stability, that calm confidence, that is the wealth no market can take from you. Rise into it. Chapter 4. The Fear of More, Why Success Triggers Self-Sabotage. There is a moment, quiet, subtle, almost invisible, when everything is about to change. The opportunity appears. The breakthrough is close. The door is slightly open. And instead of moving forward, you hesitate. Not because you don't want more, but because more is asking something from you. More visibility. More responsibility. More separation from the version of you that felt familiar. This is the fear no one talks about. Not the fear of failure, but the fear of success. And until you understand it, it will keep showing up right when you're about to rise. Your mind loves growth. Your nervous system loves familiarity. And those two don't always agree. When success approaches, your body doesn't ask, "Is this good?" It asks, "Is this familiar?" If the answer is no, alarm bells ring. Because growth changes how you're seen. It changes expectations. It changes relationships. Suddenly, you're more visible. People watch. They judge. They expect. And your system remembers something old. Maybe standing out once led to criticism. Maybe success created distance. Maybe being too much made you feel unsafe. So your body reacts, not with logic, but with protection. Tight chest. Racing thoughts. Sudden doubts that feel reasonable. This is not weakness. This is biology. Your nervous system is trying to keep you connected to what once felt safe, even if that safety is limiting. This is why success feels heavy right before it feels freeing. Every level of growth asks you to let go of something. An old identity. An old role. An old version of belonging. And that can feel like loss. You may not say it out loud, but part of you wonders. If I succeed, will I still be accepted? If I rise, will I still belong? If I become more, will I be alone? This is where self-sabotage is born. Not from laziness. Not from lack of desire. But from fear of separation. Even Oprah has spoken about how success changes relationships, how growth can isolate if you're not emotionally prepared. Not because success is bad, but because it exposes who is ready to grow with you. Your system senses that risk. So it pulls you back. Self-sabotage rarely looks dramatic. It looks practical. You start overthinking. You delay just a little longer. You distract yourself with important tasks. You wait for perfect conditions. Perfectionism whispers, "Not yet." Overthinking says, "Be careful." Distraction says, "Now's not the time." And all of it feels reasonable. But here's the truth. These patterns show up right before breakthroughs. Not at the beginning. Not in the middle. At the edge. Right where courage is required. Think of an everyday example. Someone offered a promotion. More pay. More leadership. More visibility. And suddenly, excuses. Doubt. I'm not ready. Not because they can't do it, but because success is asking them to expand their self-image. And expansion always creates tension before it creates freedom. Comfort is predictable. Potential is unknown. And the nervous system always chooses predictability, unless trained otherwise. This is why people stay in jobs they dislike. Relationships that have expired. Financial patterns that feel safe but small. Because comfort is not about happiness. It's about certainty. Growth disrupts certainty. It requires you to stand in uncertainty, without shrinking. And that skill is learned. Here's the key: you don't overcome fear of more by pushing harder. You overcome it by increasing your capacity to hold more. More attention. More pressure. More responsibility. Capacity grows through regulation, not force. When fear arises, don't fight it. Don't shame it. Don't judge it. Acknowledge it. Say silently, "I see you. And I'm moving anyway." Then take small, courageous steps. Visibility in measured doses. Responsibility in manageable layers. Growth that feels challenging, but not overwhelming. This teaches your nervous system something new. That success doesn't equal danger. That expansion doesn't equal loss. That more can feel grounded. This is how confidence is built, not through bold leaps alone, but through repeated proof that you can handle growth. The edge is uncomfortable. That's where fear lives. That's where growth lives. Most people retreat from the edge. Leaders learn to breathe there. They don't rush. They don't freeze. They stay present. Steve Jobs was known not just for vision, but for his ability to sit with uncertainty, to hold pressure, to let ideas form without panic. That emotional capacity allowed innovation to emerge. Your life works the same way. When you stay present at the edge, instead of pulling back, you evolve. At some point, you must update an old agreement inside yourself. The agreement that says, staying small keeps me safe. Being seen is risky. More will cost me too much. That agreement once protected you. Now, it limits you. And you don't tear it up with force. You replace it with a new one. One that says, I can grow and remain grounded. I can succeed and stay connected. I can hold more without losing myself. This is identity work. This is emotional mastery. This is how self-sabotage dissolves, not because fear disappears, but because courage becomes stronger. The next time success feels close, and fear rises, pause, breathe, and say this slowly. I am safe to expand. Say it again, until your shoulders soften. Because from this moment on, you are not retreating from growth. You are training yourself to stand inside it. More is not the enemy. More is the invitation. And you are ready to rise into it. Chapter 5. Deserving versus earning, rewriting worthiness around money. There is a belief hiding in plain sight. Quiet, powerful, exhausting. It says this: you must suffer to deserve more. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It shows up when you overwork and still feel behind. When rest makes you uneasy. When ease feels suspicious. When success feels like something you have to pay for with exhaustion. This belief has built empires and burned people to the ground. And if you don't challenge it, it will keep you running on empty, no matter how much you earn. This chapter is about freedom. Not freedom from effort, but freedom from punishment disguised as purpose. Because wealth was never meant to be earned through self-erasure. Somewhere along the way, many of us signed an invisible contract. It said, if I work harder than everyone else, I'm allowed to receive. If I struggle long enough, I've earned rest. If I sacrifice enough, I'll finally be worthy. This contract is not noble. It's inherited. Maybe you watched someone you love work themselves into the ground. Maybe love was tied to effort. Maybe praise only came after pain. So your nervous system learned a rule. Worth comes after suffering. And now, even when opportunities arise, you don't fully receive. You overgive. You overextend. You overprove. Exhaustion becomes a badge of honor. Burnout becomes normal. But here's the truth. Suffering is not a prerequisite for abundance. It never was. You can earn money through force, through grind, through pressure. But that kind of success comes with a cost. It tightens the body. It hardens the heart. It disconnects joy from achievement. This is why some people reach goals and feel empty. Why rest feels uncomfortable. Why peace feels undeserved. They didn't build wealth. They survived their way to it. And survival is not fulfillment. Think of someone who finally makes it, but can't slow down. Can't enjoy. Can't feel safe stopping. Not because they lack gratitude, but because their identity is still proving something. That's not wealth. That's delayed worthiness. And delayed worthiness is never satisfying. Let's break something open right now. Your value does not increase with exhaustion. Your worth does not rise with sacrifice. You are not more deserving because you suffer more. That belief keeps good people tired. Keeps brilliant minds overworking. Keeps potential trapped in cycles of proving. True wealth asks a different question. Not, how much can you endure? But, how aligned are you? Alignment is when your work matches your values. When your effort matches your energy. When your contribution feels clean, not draining. Steve Jobs wasn't known for endless grind, but for clarity, vision, focus. He didn't try to do everything. He did the right things, deeply. That's not sacrifice. That's alignment. Martyrdom says, I must give myself away to deserve. Meaning says, I contribute because it matters, and I am replenished by it. Martyrdom drains you. Meaning fuels you. Wealth responds to meaning. Because when you are aligned, you show up fully. You create value naturally. You serve without resentment. And people feel that. Money flows toward clarity. Toward grounded energy. Toward people who know their worth without shouting it. This is why some people charge more and feel calm, while others charge less and feel resentful. It's not about price. It's about worthiness. Earning does not mean punishing yourself. Earning means you showed up with integrity. You solved real problems. You served with presence. You created value. That's it. Not how tired you are. Not how much you sacrificed. Not how much you endured. When you confuse suffering with earning, you train your nervous system to resist ease. And when ease feels unsafe, abundance never stays. Ease is not laziness. Ease is efficiency. Ease is alignment. Ease is mastery. A seasoned athlete makes it look effortless, not because it is easy, but because they are trained. Wealth works the same way. When you are aligned, growth feels smoother. Decisions feel cleaner. Results feel steadier. And guilt may rise. That guilt is old programming leaving your system. Let it go. You are not betraying anyone by choosing ease. You are modeling a healthier way forward. Here is the reframe that changes everything. Money does not respond to how much you hurt. It responds to clarity, value, consistency, service. When your work helps others, and you are resourced, rested, and regulated, you do better work. And that creates sustainable wealth. Not the kind that burns you out, but the kind that builds you up. Take a deep breath and release the old contract. Say this slowly, with conviction. I do not need to suffer to be worthy. Say it again, until your body believes it. From this moment on, you earn through alignment. You receive through service. And you rest without guilt. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. You were never meant to bleed for abundance. You were meant to build it, grounded, clear, and whole. And now, you know the difference. Chapter 6. The Discipline Myth. Why consistency matters more than intensity. There is a lie that sounds like strength. It says, push harder. It says, sleep later. It says, burn now, rest someday. This lie has been praised, applauded, romanticized. But it has quietly broken more people than it has ever made wealthy. Because intensity feels powerful, but it is unstable. And wealth, lasting wealth, is built on what lasts. This chapter is not about doing more. It's about doing what works, again and again and again, even when the fire is low. Because discipline is not about force. It's about rhythm. Let's say something honest, without judgment. Extreme hustle is not always commitment. Sometimes, it's escape. Escape from feeling. From slowing down. From sitting with uncertainty. When you're constantly busy, you don't have to listen to your inner world. When you're exhausted, you don't have to ask deeper questions. When you're chasing intensity, you don't have to face stillness. But stillness is where clarity lives. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It's often a signal that something inside is being avoided. Many people work hard not because they are disciplined, but because they are afraid to stop. Afraid of feeling behind. Afraid of feeling unworthy. Afraid of feeling unsure. So they push, and push, and push, until the body forces a stop. That's not strength. That's disconnection. True discipline is calm, quiet, unimpressive from the outside, but unstoppable over time. Intensity gives fast feedback. You feel powerful, focused, driven. But intensity is expensive. It demands emotional fuel. And emotional fuel runs out. That's why intensity comes in waves, followed by crashes. You sprint. Then you stall. You go all in. Then you pull away. High effort. Low sustainability. Wealth doesn't grow in sprints. It grows in seasons. Think of nature. Nothing grows by forcing itself upward overnight. Growth happens underground first, slowly, quietly, consistently. Roots before fruit. Serena Williams didn't train intensely once. She trained consistently for decades. That's not hype. That's discipline. And discipline like that doesn't scream. It whispers, show up again. Consistency is not about willpower. It's about emotional regulation. Because to show up repeatedly, especially on ordinary days, you must be able to sit with boredom, with discomfort, with delayed reward. Consistency asks you to act without applause, without excitement, without certainty. That's emotional strength. This is why consistency compounds while intensity collapses. A small action done daily trains identity. It rewires the nervous system. It builds trust with yourself. And trust is the foundation of wealth. When you trust yourself to show up, even when motivation is gone, you become reliable. And reliability attracts opportunity. People trust you. Systems trust you. Life responds. Small actions don't look impressive. That's why most people ignore them. But small actions are powerful because they are repeatable. A calm daily decision. A steady habit. A simple process followed consistently. Over time, these actions stack. They create momentum without drama. Progress without burnout. Growth without collapse. Think of someone who saves modestly every month. Or improves one skill every day. Or builds one relationship at a time. Years later, the results look miraculous. But there was no miracle. There was rhythm. This is how wealth actually grows, not in explosions, but in accumulation. Here's where mastery lies. You don't build systems for your best days. You build them for your worst days. Because discipline that only works when you feel good isn't discipline. It's mood dependence. Systems remove the need for constant motivation. They answer questions before emotions interfere. What do I do when I'm tired? What do I do when I'm overwhelmed? What do I do when doubt shows up? When the answer is already decided, you conserve energy. You don't negotiate with your feelings. You follow your structure. That's freedom. Structure doesn't limit you. It supports you. Think of a musician. Practice isn't intense every day. It's consistent. And that consistency creates mastery. Your life works the same way. Pressure exhausts. Rhythm sustains. Pressure demands more. Rhythm allows flow. When you design your life around rhythm, you work with your energy, not against it. Some days you move fast. Some days you move slow. But you don't stop. You stay connected. That's the secret. Wealth doesn't require you to be extreme. It requires you to be present and persistent. And persistence is emotional maturity. Intensity can become addictive. It makes you feel important, needed, driven. But addiction always has a cost. When intensity fades, identity collapses. That's why some people don't know who they are without hustle. Consistency gives you a different identity. One rooted in trust, in steadiness, in quiet confidence. You don't need to prove anything. You just show up. And that changes everything. There is power in showing up when no one is watching. Power in doing the work without excitement, without urgency, without fear. That power compounds. And one day, people will call it overnight success. But you'll know the truth. It was consistency. The next time you feel the urge to push harder, pause. Ask yourself, what can I do consistently instead? Choose the smaller action. Choose the repeatable one. Because from this moment on, you are no longer chasing intensity. You are building rhythm. And rhythm builds wealth that lasts. You don't need to burn brighter. You need to burn longer. And now, you know how. Chapter 7. Money and Meaning, Aligning Purpose with Profit. There is a quiet ache that money alone can never touch. It shows up after the goal is reached. After the numbers grow. After the applause fades. It whispers, "Is this it?" Many people think that question is a problem. It's not. It's a signal. A signal that wealth without meaning feels hollow, and meaning without sustainability feels heavy. This chapter is about the moment your soul starts asking for more. Not more money, but more truth. Because money was never meant to replace your identity. It was meant to express it. You can have success on paper and still feel poor inside. Busy, but disconnected. Comfortable, but restless. Accomplished, but unfulfilled. That emptiness doesn't mean you chose the wrong path. It means you've outgrown a version of success that was too small for you. Money can buy comfort. It can buy options. It can buy time. But it cannot buy purpose. When money becomes the reason you wake up, your spirit slowly goes quiet. And when your spirit goes quiet, motivation fades, joy shrinks, and burnout creeps in. This is why some people keep chasing bigger goals, hoping the next level will finally feel enough. But meaning doesn't live at the finish line. It lives in alignment. Now let's look at the other side. Meaning without money. Purpose without support. It sounds noble, but it often leads to depletion. People who give endlessly, serve deeply, care profoundly, but never build stability. They sacrifice themselves for impact, until resentment replaces passion. This is not spirituality. This is imbalance. You cannot pour light if you are running on empty. Meaning that doesn't sustain you eventually drains you. And when you burn out, the impact stops. True purpose does not demand self-destruction. It asks for stewardship. When purpose and profit align, something powerful happens. Work becomes meaningful. Money becomes clean. Effort feels directed, not draining. You're not chasing money. You're funding impact. This is why purpose-driven wealth lasts longer. Because it's not fueled by ego or fear. It's fueled by service and clarity. Think of Oprah again, not the wealth, but the mission. Her success expanded when her work became an extension of her values, not a replacement for them. The same principle applies to you, whether you're leading a company, raising a family, creating art, or building a craft. When money flows through meaning, it multiplies without corruption. Here's where many people get lost. They let money answer questions it was never meant to answer. Who am I? Am I enough? Do I matter? Money cannot answer those questions. When it tries, anxiety grows. You tie self-worth to income. You tie confidence to results. You tie peace to numbers. And suddenly, money feels heavy. Because it's carrying emotional weight it was never designed to hold. Your identity must come first. Money follows identity, not the other way around. Values are your compass. They tell you what matters, what doesn't, what you say yes to, and what you walk away from. Without values, money pulls you in every direction. With values, money becomes focused. Ask yourself, not quickly, not casually, but honestly, what kind of impact do I want to have? What kind of problems do I feel called to solve? What kind of life do I want money to support? These answers don't have to be grand. They just have to be true. When values are clear, decisions get easier. Boundaries get stronger. Purpose gets sharper. And money stops being confusing. Here is the shift that changes everything. Money is not the goal. It is the amplifier. It amplifies who you are, what you stand for, what you choose to serve. When your values are rooted, money expands your reach. It allows you to give more, create more, build more. Not to impress, but to contribute. This is when wealth feels light. Because it's moving through you, not defining you. Purpose is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet consistency. Doing work with integrity. Showing up with presence. Caring deeply about the quality of what you offer. An everyday professional who improves lives through reliability. A business owner who treats people fairly. A creator who speaks truth. That's purpose. And when you honor it, money responds. Not instantly, but steadily. Because alignment builds trust. And trust builds wealth. Choosing meaning does not mean shrinking your goals. It means refining them. You can want more, and still be grounded. You can grow bigger, and still stay true. You can build wealth and still live with heart. Ambition guided by purpose becomes powerful. It's not frantic. It's focused. And that focus creates longevity. When money serves meaning, you don't burn bridges. You build them. You don't exploit. You elevate. You don't rush. You root. This is the kind of wealth that feels good to hold. Because it doesn't ask you to betray yourself. It asks you to become more of who you are. Take a moment and ask yourself this question slowly. What do I want my money to stand for? Let the answer rise, without force. Then say this with conviction. My wealth is an extension of my values. From this moment on, money no longer replaces meaning. It follows it. And because of that, what you build will last. You were never meant to choose between purpose and prosperity. You were meant to align them. And now, you know how. Chapter 8. Training Calm in Financial Growth. Let me tell you something most people never realize. Your body meets money before your mind does. Before logic speaks. Before strategy forms. Before numbers make sense. Your nervous system reacts. It tightens. It braces. It scans for danger. And if your body doesn't feel safe with growth, no amount of income will ever feel like enough. This is the hidden reason people earn more and sleep less. Why success increases anxiety instead of peace. Why stability feels fragile even when the bank account grows. Wealth is not just a financial experience. It is a biological one. And until your nervous system is trained for expansion, calm will always feel temporary. Your nervous system has one primary job: keep you alive. It doesn't care about profit. It doesn't care about ambition. It cares about familiarity. When financial growth happens, your body asks one question: is this safe? If you grew up around instability, more money means more responsibility. If you grew up around stress, more money means more pressure. If you grew up watching money disappear, more money means more to lose. So even when income rises, your body stays alert. Shoulders tight. Mind racing. Sleep shallow. This is why people sabotage peace at higher levels. Their system has never learned that stability can expand. Growth feels like standing on a cliff, even when the view is beautiful. Scale means more decisions, more exposure, more consequence. And without regulation, more becomes overwhelming. That's why some people peak early. Why others self-sabotage after success. Why sudden wealth feels like chaos. Their system is still wired for survival, not stewardship. Think of someone who doubles their income, but doubles their stress too. They check numbers obsessively. They fear mistakes. They over-control. Not because they're greedy. Because their body hasn't caught up to their reality. Wealth doesn't destabilize people. Untrained nervous systems do. Here's the truth that surprises most people. Anxiety around money has very little to do with money. It has everything to do with capacity. If your capacity for uncertainty is low, anxiety stays high. If your tolerance for pressure is low, peace disappears quickly. That's why people say, if I just earned more, I'd relax. But they don't. Because the body doesn't relax from numbers. It relaxes from safety signals. Your system must learn that. You can have more and still be okay. You can hold responsibility and still breathe. You can grow without bracing. Until then, anxiety moves with you. Calm is not passive. It is trained. Just like strength. Just like focus. Just like confidence. You don't train calm by avoiding stress. You train it by staying regulated inside it. When financial decisions arise, notice your body. Is there urgency? Tightness? Racing thoughts? Pause. Breathe slowly, longer exhales than inhales. This tells your nervous system, I am safe right now. Then decide. Not from fear. Not from excitement. From grounded presence. Every time you do this, you expand capacity. This is how calm becomes your baseline. Calm decisions are rarely dramatic, but they are powerful. They prevent impulsive spending. They prevent panic selling. They prevent ego-driven risk. Calm allows you to think long-term, to see patterns, to respond, not react. This is why emotionally regulated people outperform emotionally reactive ones over time. Not because they're smarter, but because they're steadier. Think of a seasoned investor, or a leader under pressure. They don't rush. They don't flinch. That's not luck. That's a trained nervous system. Growth often happens faster than your system can integrate. So instead of pushing more, integrate deeper. Celebrate wins slowly. Rest intentionally. Ground yourself daily. Let your body feel success, not just your mind. Because when your nervous system catches up, wealth finally feels stable. And stability creates sustainability. Survival says, protect at all costs. React quickly. Don't trust. Stewardship says, hold wisely. Decide calmly. Think generationally. Wealth requires stewardship. And stewardship requires regulation. This is the inner shift that separates temporary success from lasting abundance. The next time money triggers urgency, pause, breathe, and say this slowly. My body is learning that growth is safe. Say it again, until tension softens. From this moment on, you are not forcing wealth. You are training calm to hold it. Because wealth that comes faster than calm collapses. But wealth held in regulation rises, stabilizes, and lasts. And now, your nervous system is learning a new language. The language of grounded abundance. Chapter 9. From Survival to Expansion. There is a part of you that knows how to fight. It learned early. It learned fast. It learned when quitting was not an option. That part of you is strong, resilient, brilliant under pressure. But listen carefully. That same strength may now be the very thing holding you back. Because survival was never meant to be a permanent home. Yet many people live there for decades. Not because they want to suffer, but because suffering became familiar. And familiarity feels like safety. Survival shapes identity. It teaches you how to push, how to endure, how to keep going when nothing is guaranteed. And somewhere along the way, a quiet belief forms. This is who I am. The fighter, the struggler, the one who makes it through no matter what. That identity once saved you. Honor that. But here is the truth most people never face. If struggle shaped your sense of worth, peace may now feel undeserved. Ease may feel suspicious. Rest may feel like weakness. Expansion may feel like betrayal. Because if life gets easier, who are you without the fight? This is why many people stay loyal to hardship long after it's no longer necessary. Not consciously, emotionally. Loyalty to struggle is not about liking pain. It's about belonging. If your family bonded through hardship, ease can feel like separation. If love came through sacrifice, rest can feel wrong. If survival earned respect, expansion can feel unsafe. So even when opportunity appears, you hesitate. You choose familiar stress over unfamiliar peace. Familiar exhaustion over unfamiliar freedom. Not because you lack courage, but because your nervous system still believes struggle equals identity. And identity is protected at all costs. Survival mode is narrow. It focuses on today, on now, on making it through. That's useful when danger is real. But when survival becomes permanent, creativity dies. You stop dreaming. You stop imagining. You stop thinking long-term. Because survival asks, how do I get through? Expansion asks, what do I want to build? And those questions require different minds. Survival tightens. Expansion opens. Survival reacts. Expansion chooses. You cannot build a future while constantly bracing for impact. Rest is threatening to a survival-trained system. Because stillness brings sensation. And sensation brings memory. So you stay busy. Productive. Always moving. Movement becomes avoidance. But rest is not collapse. Rest is integration. It's how the nervous system learns it no longer needs to fight. Without rest, growth becomes brittle. And brittle things break. Here's the fear beneath the fear. If I let go of struggle, will I lose my strength? No. You will refine it. Strength born from survival is raw. Strength born from expansion is wise. You don't lose resilience when you stop struggling. You gain range. You gain choice. You gain the ability to respond, not just endure. This is not betrayal of your past. It's evolution because of it. Survival energy is about proving, I can make it. I can handle it. I won't break. Expansion energy is about creating. What can I build? What can I enjoy? What can I contribute? Proving exhausts. Creating energizes. And wealth responds to creation, not constant proving. When you stop fighting life, life starts working with you. This is the quiet permission many people never give themselves. Permission to want more without apology. More ease. More space. More joy. Wanting more does not erase gratitude. It honors growth. A seed does not apologize for becoming a tree. And neither should you. Expansion feels unfamiliar at first. Your body may look for problems. Your mind may expect collapse. That's normal. You're not doing it wrong. You're retraining a system that learned life through hardship. Go gently. Celebrate small ease. Allow small joys. Let stability become normal. This is how the nervous system learns a new truth. That peace is not dangerous. That ease does not equal loss. That growth can feel grounded. Endurance says, just keep going. Alignment says, move with intention. You don't need to endure life anymore. You get to design it. And design requires presence, vision, trust. At some point, you made a promise to yourself. I'll never give up. I'll always push through. I'll survive no matter what. You kept that promise. Now it's time to update it. A new promise. I will allow myself to thrive. I will rest when needed. I will expand without guilt. This is not weakness. This is maturity. Place a hand on your heart. Breathe deeply. And say this slowly. I honor the strength that carried me, and I choose a future that nourishes me. Say it again, until your body softens. From this moment on, you are no longer loyal to struggle. You are loyal to growth. You survived. That chapter is complete. Now, you get to expand. Chapter 10. The Power of Ownership. There is a moment in every life when power quietly returns. Not when circumstances change. Not when others apologize. Not when the past finally makes sense. Power returns the moment you say, "This is mine to shape." That moment doesn't erase pain. It doesn't deny injustice. It doesn't pretend life was fair. It does something far more important. It gives you freedom. This chapter is about that moment. The moment responsibility stops feeling like a weight and starts feeling like wings. Let's clear something up right now. Responsibility is not self-attack. It is not shame. It is not saying, "It's all my fault." That's not responsibility. That's punishment. True responsibility says something very different. It says, I may not have caused everything that happened, but I decide what happens next. That sentence is power, because blame keeps you looking backward. Responsibility lets you move forward. When you confuse responsibility with blame, you give your power away. When you reclaim responsibility as authority, you take it back. Authority over your choices. Authority over your patterns. Authority over your future. And authority is freedom. Let's be honest, victimhood offers comfort. It explains pain. It validates struggle. It says, of course I'm stuck, look at what happened to me. And sometimes that's true. You were hurt. You were limited. You were denied something you deserved. That pain is real. But staying in victimhood has a hidden cost. It hands control to the past. It ties your future to someone else's behavior. It waits for permission that may never come. Victimhood keeps you safe, but it keeps you small. Ownership asks more of you, and gives more back. Ownership is the moment you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what will I do with this? That shift is subtle, but it's seismic. Because now, you're no longer reacting. You're choosing. Think of Nelson Mandela. Not the politics, the principle. He did not deny injustice. He did not minimize pain. But he refused to let bitterness decide his future. That is ownership. Not control of events, but control of response. And response is where freedom lives. Most people don't repeat outcomes by accident. They repeat patterns. Patterns of avoidance. Patterns of overgiving. Patterns of silence. Patterns of self-doubt. And here's the hard truth. Patterns don't dissolve through awareness alone. They dissolve through ownership. When you say, I notice I avoid conflict. I notice I overwork to feel worthy. I notice I delay decisions when fear rises. That's not judgment. That's leadership. You cannot change what you won't claim. Ownership doesn't say you are bad. It says you are capable. Confidence doesn't come from certainty. It comes from trust. Trust that you can handle consequences. Trust that you can adapt. Trust that you can recover. And that trust is built through ownership. Every time you take responsibility for a choice, even a small one, you strengthen self-trust. I chose this. I learned from this. I'll adjust. That inner dialogue builds stability. And stability builds confidence. Not loud confidence. Grounded confidence. The kind that doesn't collapse under pressure. Blame drains energy. Waiting drains energy. Resentment drains energy. Ownership restores it. When you stop arguing with reality, you reclaim focus. When you stop wishing others would change, you regain momentum. When you stop explaining your pain, you start transforming it. Ownership simplifies life. It removes mental clutter. It clears emotional noise. And clarity is wealth. Let me say this clearly. Ownership does not erase injustice. It doesn't say what happened was okay. It doesn't excuse harm. It doesn't silence grief. It simply refuses to let the past dictate the future. You can honor your pain and still choose your power. You can acknowledge what was lost and still build what's next. This is not denial. This is sovereignty. There is a question that traps and a question that frees. Why me? Looks backward. What now? Moves forward. What now? Doesn't rush healing. It doesn't demand positivity. It asks for direction. And direction creates movement. Movement creates momentum. Momentum creates change. Wealth, emotional, financial, spiritual, requires ownership. Ownership of habits. Ownership of decisions. Ownership of growth. Because wealth is not something that happens to you. It's something you participate in. When you stop outsourcing responsibility, you stop outsourcing power. And power, when grounded, becomes abundance. Ownership is not a one-time declaration. It's a daily practice. Every day you choose to respond instead of react, to learn instead of blame, to adjust instead of quit. Those choices stack. They reshape identity. They create a life that feels directed, not accidental. Authority doesn't mean control over others. It means leadership over self. It means you trust your ability to navigate uncertainty. That trust changes how you walk into rooms, how you speak, how you decide. And people feel it. Opportunities respond to it. Life opens to it. Take a breath and feel your feet on the ground. Say this slowly, with strength. I take responsibility for my next step. Say it again, without fear. From this moment on, you are not defined by what happened. You are defined by what you choose. And that choice, that ownership, is your freedom. You are not powerless. You never were. You were simply waiting to claim what has always been yours. Chapter 11. Spiritual Alignment and Wealth. There comes a moment in your life, quiet, sacred, undeniable, when money stops asking, "How much can I get?" and starts asking, "Who am I becoming as I receive?" That moment is not about religion. It's not about rules or rituals. It's about alignment. Because wealth without alignment is noisy, and wealth with alignment is peaceful. This chapter is about the turning point. When abundance stops being about proving your worth and starts becoming a vehicle for service. When money no longer inflates the ego, but deepens the soul. Many people carry a hidden fear. If I pursue wealth, will I lose myself? They've seen money distort values, corrupt relationships, turn kind people hard. So they pull back. They limit. They shrink their desires, not because they lack ambition, but because they fear misalignment. That fear is not weakness. It's conscience. But here's the truth. Money does not erode integrity. Misalignment does. When wealth is built without clarity of values, it becomes heavy. When it's built without purpose, it becomes empty. But when wealth flows through values, it becomes clean. Spiritual alignment is not perfection. It's honesty. Honesty about why you want more. Honesty about how you use what you receive. Honesty about whether your success still feels like you. Alignment feels like coherence. Your thoughts match your actions. Your values match your decisions. Your growth matches your conscience. When alignment is present, wealth doesn't disturb your peace. It strengthens it. Aligned wealth doesn't shout. It settles. It brings clarity instead of confusion, generosity instead of greed, calm instead of constant craving. You stop chasing validation through numbers. You stop needing money to prove you matter, because you already know you do. This is why some people grow richer and calmer, while others grow richer and more restless. Same money, different alignment. Money is not moral. It is directional. It amplifies intention. In the hands of someone aligned, money builds, heals, supports, uplifts. In the hands of someone disconnected, money distracts, consumes, numbs. Money does not decide who you are. It reveals it. When your inner world is clear, money becomes a powerful ally. At some point, accumulation stops satisfying. Not because you're ungrateful, but because your soul wants movement. Contribution. You want to see your success touch lives. You want your work to mean something beyond survival. This is not ego death. It's ego maturity. It's the moment you realize. Wealth feels best when it flows outward, like water that nourishes fields instead of stagnating in a pond. Let's be clear. Service is not martyrdom. It does not mean undercharging. It does not mean depletion. It does not mean erasing yourself. True service is sustainable. It honors your energy, your boundaries, your well-being. Because when you are resourced, you serve better. Aligned wealth allows you to give without resentment, to contribute without exhaustion. That's not selfish. That's wise. One of the most liberating shifts happens when money steps down from the throne. It stops being your identity, your measure, your proof, and becomes what it was always meant to be. A tool to build, to support, to express values in action. When money is no longer asked to define you, it becomes lighter to hold. And when it's lighter, it flows. Clarity is rare and powerful. When your values are clear, decisions simplify. When your intentions are clear, money stops confusing you. When your direction is clear, fear loses grip. You don't need to justify your success. You don't need to hide it. You don't need to apologize for it. You know why you're building. And that knowing creates peace. You've seen it. A business owner who treats people fairly and prospers steadily. A creator who speaks truth and attracts loyal support. A leader who uplifts others and leaves a lasting legacy. Not flashy. Not frantic. Rooted. This is alignment in motion. And it is far more powerful than force. Aligned wealth comes with awareness. Awareness that what you hold can help others rise. Awareness that your success can open doors. Awareness that money can be a bridge, not a wall. This doesn't mean pressure. It means purpose. Purpose gives weight to abundance, but not heaviness. Meaning. Wealth was never meant to replace love, or connection, or meaning. It was meant to support them. When you let wealth serve life, life expands. And expansion feels clean when alignment is intact. Place your hand over your heart. Breathe slowly. And say this with quiet strength. My wealth is a channel for good. Say it again, without pride, without fear. From this moment on, money no longer defines you. It expresses you. And because of that, your abundance becomes service. You were never meant to choose between wealth and integrity. You were meant to align them. And when you do, abundance becomes something far greater than accumulation. It becomes impact. Chapter 12: Building Wealth That Outlives You. One day, quietly, without announcement, your name will be spoken for the last time in a room you are not in. Not with fear. Not with drama. Just truth. And in that moment, the question will not be how much you earned. It will be, what lived on because you were here. Legacy is not about death. It's about depth. It's about what continues to grow long after you stop pushing. This chapter is not an ending. It's an awakening. Because when you begin to think in legacy, everything about wealth changes. Short-term thinking is loud. It chases quick wins, fast validation, immediate results. It asks, how much can I get now? How fast can I grow now? How do I prove success now? And it delivers something, money, status, applause. But it rarely delivers peace. Because short-term gains fade. Trends expire. Numbers reset. And when identity is tied to short-term success, emptiness always follows. Legacy thinking slows you down, not because you lack ambition, but because you gain perspective. It asks a different question. What will still matter when I'm no longer in the room? That question sharpens focus like nothing else. Let's say something bold and honest. Money that dies with you is not legacy. It's consumption. True wealth has momentum. It moves through generations, through values, through habits, through emotional intelligence. This is why two families with the same resources produce very different futures. One passes down money, but not wisdom. The other passes down principles and multiplies impact. Legacy is not about how much you leave. It's about how prepared others are because of you. You inherited more than you realize. Not just money, or the absence of it. You inherited beliefs about struggle, beliefs about worth, beliefs about possibility. You inherited emotional patterns, responses to stress, relationships with rest, ambition, and fear. Some of what you inherited helped you. Some of it limited you. Legacy thinking begins when you consciously decide, what stops with me, and what continues through me. That decision is power. Before money ever moves forward, values do. Values shape decisions. Decisions shape habits. Habits shape outcomes. And outcomes, repeated, shape generations. If you pass down money without values, it scatters. If you pass down values without money, it strains. Legacy thinking integrates both. It says, we build resources, and we build character. We grow wealth, and we grow wisdom. That combination is unstoppable. Here is something few people teach, but everyone lives. Emotional intelligence outlasts money. The ability to regulate emotions, to communicate clearly, to recover from failure, to delay gratification. These are legacy skills. They shape marriages, careers, parenting, leadership. A child who inherits emotional resilience will out-earn one who only inherits cash, because they know how to hold pressure without breaking. That is wealth. Legacy is not built on grand gestures. It's built in ordinary moments, repeated with intention. How you handle stress. How you speak when things go wrong. How you treat people when no one is watching. These moments teach more than any inheritance document ever will. They teach how to live. And people remember how you made them feel, long after they forget what you owned. Success asks, what can I achieve? Significance asks, what can I contribute? Success is personal. Significance is generational. And the shift from success to significance doesn't diminish ambition. It refines it. You stop chasing recognition and start building relevance. You stop asking how big and start asking how meaningful. That shift changes how you use time, money, energy, Everything becomes intentional. Legacy thinking moves beyond income. It looks at systems. Systems that teach. Systems that protect. Systems that empower. This might be a business built on ethics. A family culture built on honesty. A community shaped by example. You don't need fame to build legacy. You need consistency. Roots. Integrity practiced daily. That's how trees grow taller than the person who planted them. Legacy thinking softens ego, but sharpens purpose. You still want excellence. You still want growth. But now, it's not about being remembered. It's about what remembers you. The values that live on. The confidence you helped others develop. The doors you opened quietly. That kind of legacy doesn't seek applause. It creates echoes. This is the invitation of legacy thinking. To define success not by comparison, but by contribution. Not by accumulation, but by impact. Not by what you can show, but by what continues. That definition brings peace, because you stop racing against others and start building something timeless. Here's the truth, whether you choose it or not. You are already building a legacy. Through your habits, your reactions, your priorities. The only question is it intentional? Legacy thinking makes it conscious. And consciousness changes everything. Let's close this book and open something far greater. Take a breath and think beyond today. Beyond this year. Beyond yourself. Ask this quietly. What do I want to live on because I lived? Then say this with calm certainty. I build for more than me. From this moment on, every choice carries intention. Every effort carries meaning. And every form of wealth you create reaches beyond your lifetime. You are not here to consume and disappear. You are here to plant something that grows long after you're gone. That is legacy. And now, you are ready to build it.